What's up, Epic 7? This guide will serve as a solid dive into tips and tricks on how to succeed. I know many of you are new, and some of you are probably, this is your first Ancient Inheritance, and you're thinking to yourself, Wulf, I'm new. I don't have that many units, and my gear is pretty bad. It's like goblin gear. There's no way I can perform in this event. Well, I'm here to tell you that's just not true. I can't emphasize this enough. This content is for everyone, and I mean everyone, even you. You see, Ancient Inheritance is structured unlike any other Epic 7 content. There's special balancing mechanics, and these mechanics are so profound that they make this event accessible to everyone at all levels of gameplay. What I'm trying to say here is that this event is designed to allow the brand new player to perform almost equal with like a 5-year veteran who wails on the game. Let me explain how that works. Okay, first of all, there's an enlisting system that only allows you to draft a certain number of heroes inside of Ancient Inheritance. At the start, you get 10 heroes. Now, you'll get additional enlistment slots as you level up and progress, but bottom line is you don't need a deep pool of units in the game. You certainly don't need every unit in the game. Second, and this is the best part, once you enter Ancient Inheritance, every single unit you have listed is immediately upgraded, maximum, all of it. Upgraded to level 60, they will be 6-star, maxed awakened, max moled. If it's a specialty change unit, the specialty change tree will be fully completed. Everything is maxed out, ready to go right out of the box. Now, unfortunately, once you leave Ancient Inheritance, it all reverts back to its prior form. But you can legit use a level 5 unit that you just pulled and have done nothing to, and it will perform exactly like a maxed out, fully invested hero. Now let's cover gearing these units. Because new players don't have great gear, right? I mean, how are you gonna do this without gear? Well, that's covered too. You see, inside of Ancient Inheritance, gear quality doesn't really matter. Well, it matters a little, but only a little. Not being sarcastic here, right? What I'm trying to say here is only about 10% of the substats and main stat on the gear make it through inside of Ancient Inheritance. For example, let's say you've got speed boots with 40 main stat speed on them. You're only going to see about 4 of that speed reflected inside of Ancient Inheritance. That really sick piece of armor you got that had 20% crit chance on it, yeah, only 2% of that crit chance will make it through. Now, what does matter is the gear sets. You see, the full impact of the gear sets is carried over. You'll still get that 12% crit chat bonus from your crit set. You'll still get that 25% speed bonus from your speed set. Set bonuses are so massively important that even if you're using some of the most dog water trash gear on your account, as long as you can cobble together sets, you'll be able to jump right in and compete in this event like a master. Oh, and on a quick side note, artifacts and exclusive equipment, they work the same way inside of Ancient Inheritance as they do outside of Ancient Inheritance. There's no normalization mechanic applied to artifacts, there's no normalization mechanic applied to exclusive equipment. You'll find that as you advance inside of Ancient Inheritance, a lot of your stats are going to cap out from leveling. Therefore, some set bonuses are going to have diminishing return, like crit chance sets aren't going to matter that much because you'll be at 100% crit chance after a few levels. Effectiveness and effect resistance sets, those will cap out after 5 or 6 levels of advancement too. So those sets start to lose their value, but there are a lot of sets that just have unlimited value, right? For example, attack set. Attack is an uncapped stat. You can never have a maximum threshold on attack. It can just go higher and higher. So attack set is huge. Same with health set, defense set. These kind of sets have tremendous value because those stats are uncapped and you will be able to stack even higher value on your units. And special sets like Lifesteal, Rage, Torrent. Those are really good inside of Ancient Inheritance and offer unlimited utility and damage. Okay, so that covers the basics of heroes and gearing. Now let's talk about leveling. On day 1, when you enter Ancient Inheritance, you'll start at basic exploration level 1. And you'll be able to increase your exploration level by looking at objects, fighting monsters, even just wandering around will increase your level. So, yeah. Exploring increases your exploration level. Go figure. But as your level goes up, you'll be rewarded with more provisions, the ability to enlist more units, additional heroes, special bonuses like relics. You'll get keys to open chests, all kinds of goodies. So boosting your exploration level, important. Now let's discuss unit leveling. This is where your stats come from. And this is the special mechanic of Epic 7 that puts us all on pretty much equal footing. You see, in Ancient Inheritance, every unit in the game, and I mean on everyone's account, starts with the same stats, adjusted just by a little bit of a nudge by that 10% of gear stats that goes through. The bulk of your stats, however, come from the elemental leveling system. You see, in Ancient Inheritance, you don't level individual units, you level elements. As your elemental level goes up, every unit you own of that element gets stronger. So in order to level an element, all you need to do is fight monsters that are weak to that element. So let's say you want to level your fire elemental heroes, you just got to go and find a bunch of heroes identified as earth and beat the snot out of them. You want to level your light heroes, you need to go around and find a bunch of dark monsters and beat the pus out of them, and so on. The higher the level of the monster you fight, the harder the fight is, but the more XP you get. So there's a limited number of monsters on the map, so it's strongly recommended that you just specialize in 1 or 2 elements. There's simply just not enough monsters to go around to let everybody in the guild level all of their elements up, and you don't need to. You want to focus on 2 elements. Have a primary element and maybe a secondary supportive backup element. This way you will be able to level your units efficiently. You'll be able to get your levels up really, really fast and really, really high without robbing a lot of opportunities from the rest of your guild. Please get through your head that this is team-based PvE. You don't want to be the guy taking all the leveling opportunities away from the rest of your guild while also leveling up so slowly that your own progress is so slow that the rest of the guild leaves you in the dust. Focus on 1 primary element and a secondary backup supporting element. This way, you'll be able to kill monsters faster and advance your guild efficiently. Elements that you're weak in, the rest of your guildmate can take care of those situations. You focus on your job. Now this is important, because as you climb to higher floors, the monsters become stronger and stronger, more difficult to fight. So don't advance to floor 2 or 3 until you've reached a significant enough level to be able to handle the fights on that floor. The last thing you want to do is be in a situation where the monsters are too strong to be able to fight and you're stuck and you can't level. So take your time. Make sure you do enough normal fights on the current floor to sufficiently level your units, and then you will be ready before advancing to the next floor. But sometimes this isn't possible, right? Sometimes people kill all the monsters, and here you are, you started late. And it's just not logical to wander to all 4 corners of the map and spend several days trying to fight 1 or 2 monsters before you can go up a floor. This is especially true for people who've joined the event late. So for players in this situation, AI's got a safety net now, and this safety net is called the Spirit Sanctum, and it's located right beside the spawn points on floors 2 and 3. At the Spirit Sanctum, you'll be able to directly trade provisions to artificially boost the levels of red, green, and blue elements. You will not be able to use the Spirit Sanctum to boost light and dark. So it's recommended first-timers stick with red, green, and blue, both for this safety net and also because newer accounts probably don't have a whole bunch of light and dark heroes anyway. Leave light and dark to the veteran players. Stick to 1 or 2 elements. If you take nothing else away from this, it's that you want to focus on no more than 2 elements. You don't want to be a jack of all trades, master of none. You want to be frugal on how you do your normal fights. Once you fight a monster and win, you can't use those heroes the rest of the day. Even if they survive the fight, they will be grayed out or redded out. They'll be shaded out, and you can't select them again until tomorrow. So pick units who can solo or 2-man the enemy. Units with built-in healing like Fire Ravi or Apocalypse Ravi, those are huge. Units who have lifesteal sets are huge. Artifacts like Sigurd's Scythe, or Golden Rose, those are huge. Units that give debuffs like Vampirism, where you can self-heal that way, that's huge. These are magic for power leveling your elements, so consider 2-man team combos like DPS and a Soul Weaver, or defense-breaking dual attacker and a nuker, or damage-dealing self-healer like A Ravi can solo, Mursa can solo, Blaze Dingo is one of the better solo units. This will let you do a whole lot more fights with fewer units. So never take 4 units into a normal monster fight. Terrible waste. Terrible waste. You'll overkill the monster and you've just wasted 4 of your units when you could do anywhere from 2 to 4 fights with those 4 units. Also realize that there's no penalty for trying and failing. You see, let's say you do a normal monster fight and you think, hey, I can solo this with Mursa, and you go in and you fail. All it will cost you is 1 provision and Mursa will still be alive. So there's no penalty at all. So if you aren't sure, just try it. If you try it and you fail, you only lost 1 provision. Next, throw the unit back in there. This time stick a Soul Weaver on the team and get it done right. But if it succeeded, then you just successfully solo cleared a fight and you've got that Soul Weaver to use with somebody else for the next fight. Get a feel for your capabilities. Failure only costs you 1 provision and it's not that big of a deal. Oh, and also remember that this no fail, no penalty thing, this only applies to normal monster fights, okay? If you're fighting a mini boss or a warden or a floor boss, anything that's got a big HP bar across the top of the screen, there is no protection from failing. If you go into that fight and you lose the monster, you lower the monster's health for the next guy, but you still lose the units. You can't go back in. As to monsters, you see these little hearts over their heads? That's how many times the little guy can be attacked before he is defeated and disappeared. For the entire guild. After the 3rd kill, this little guy here is going to vanish. You want to make sure that there are enough monsters to go around for your whole guild. As to what element to pick, look, everybody's got to make their own decision here. Some guilds assign elements, some let everybody pick. My advice is for a guild leader to make sure you have good coverage on all of the elements. Red, green, and blue specialists are needed to rapidly slay the wardens and mini-bosses, clear blockages, get guild chests, all that kind of stuff. Big, important job. Light and dark specialists are key to killing the floor boss Prongo, who has 2 different elemental forms. All the elements have a solid roster of units and can be backed with synergistic secondary elements. Ideally, guilds want to have a spread, something on the order of 4 to 6 members assigned each to ice, fire, and earth as their primary elements. And this is your warden team. These are your warden killers. Secondary support elements are up to them. Also, the guild wants to have 5 to 7 members each assigned to light and to dark. These will be your Prongo killing teams. This is your floor boss killer. That should give you a pretty good spread. Again, let the secondary element be up to them. This will give you really good coverage so you can progress the floors at a pretty fast pace without starving for monsters to fight and level. Guild organization is key. Guild organizers need to keep a mindful eye on the light and dark elements that people select for secondary supporters. You see, a few members doing light and dark as a secondary is fine, but you don't want too many people picking light and dark as their secondary supporters, because again, you can't use the Spirit Sanctum to level up light and dark. You can only use the Spirit Sanctum to level red, green, and blue. And if everybody is running light and dark as their secondary elements, you're going to find that you're running out of light and dark mobs to fight. Now that we've covered the basics, let's shift gears and talk about how the game progresses in the event. When you get on the floor, what you're going to need to do is make Prongo show himself, and this is done by brutally murdering his friends right in front of him. Brutal. Not only does this level your elements, but it increases that rage counter that you can see up there in the corner of the screen. And once you max out that rage counter, Prongo will get so angry that you've killed his friends that he will appear himself to deal with you. And the first time Prongo appears, he should be a light unit. So your dark heroes will be on deck. So dark heroes need to go straight to where Prongo is going to spawn so that once the rage counter hits and Prongo appears, they're ready to jump on him and kill him. Meanwhile, while the dark units are beating the snot out of the light Prongo, your fire, earth, and ice units, your warden killing teams, they start moving to their respective warden locations, right? To where the wardens are going to spawn. If you're, and remember to go to where the warden that's weak to you spawns. If you've built your fire heroes, you need to head to the green warden. If you've built your water heroes, you need to head to where the fire wardens go to spawn. And you're sitting there and waiting. And once the Dark Fighters have dropped Prongo down to 50% health, he's going to run away like a little bee and call his friends the Wardens and ask them for help. All three will appear at once. Big dragons, but your brute squads should be in place. Your warden killing team should be ready to jump on them, mug the wardens when they appear. And while all of this is going on, the light fighters have been moving around, collecting guild chests maybe, doing fights, killing some mini bosses, trolling around the map, doing some of the cleanup work, getting their stuff straight, and eventually are moving over to where the Dark Prongo is going to appear. That way, once all three wardens drop, Dark Prongo will appear and the light fighters will be ready to lay on like butchers and kill the last 50% of his HP bar. Once that happens, all the special floor rewards drop for the entire guild as long as you're on the map. Make sure you get on the map. Whether they fought anything or not, they will get the rewards. And the portal to floor number 2 will open up. Floors 2 and 3 are exactly the same in this regards. It's just stronger fights and bigger maps. I do recommend that latecomers who missed the chance to go do their fights, like say you were on the first Prongo team and by the time you logged in, your guild's already killed Prongo and you got nothing to do, go around, get guild chests, help with the cleanup, do normal fights, get ready so that when floor number 2 opens up, you're ready to do your job there. Just shift your job from specific mob killing to getting guild chests and loot for the rest of your guild. There's nothing wrong with assigning a handful of more casual players that don't play very often to hang back and be cleanup crew. The rewards on the lower floor will go to any guild members who are on the higher floor levels, and loot that the guild members on the higher floor levels collect will still trickle down to people on the lower floors. Okay? If you're on the map, you get the rewards anywhere inside of AI. The only way you miss out on loot that the guild collects is if they collect it before you get on the map. I know we've been yapping a lot here, but I want you guys to pay attention. This is important. If you remember nothing else from this video, remember this tip. On day 1, when Ancient Inheritance drops, the first thing you do, like the very first thing you do, and I'm not even kidding here, right? Make this the first thing you do even before you brush your teeth. Even if you don't have time to play Epic 7 that day, you log into the game, you enter Ancient Inheritance, you get on the dungeon, you make your unit appear on the map, and select your starting relic. Then you can close the game and go to work, do whatever it is you need to do the rest of the day, and come back and play later. The reason for this is that while the rest of the guild is out there collecting rewards, only people who have logged onto the map, who've been beamed onto the event, will be on the list of players eligible to get the guild rewards. God forbid your guild is hyper aggressive and you are so slow to log in that your guild opens up guild chests or even kills Prongo and you're not there to get the gear drop. You're not there to get the loot from the guild chests. There's no way to get it back. So make sure you are on the map as soon as possible. That way you don't miss anything. Now let's talk a little bit about the tactical movements inside of Ancient Inheritance. Remember that provisions are unforgiving. There's no undo button. So go slow. Count the hexes, take your time, make sure you have the provisions to get the job done before you move places. Now, to help you plan the best course of action for movements inside of AI, the brilliant minds at Team Bread will be making maps once again. We do this every season. I joined Bread making maps, I think in season 2, to help them put these together, and the team has expanded to a small but very hard-working group of map makers that, by hand, hex by hex, build these maps for you to help you identify the best pathing, on where to go to fight the elemental monsters you need, show you the locations of wardens, where the guild chests are, and we always have this out in advance of when most of you will get to those floors. These maps can be found on the Miro board that will be posted in my videos. All of my videos will have this post. It'll also be in my Discord. So copy these maps, share them with your friends. Use them to help organize your guilds or even just for your own personal usages. Now let's talk about chests. Gone are the days of loot goblins. No more loot goblins obsessing on chests. No more loot goblins who can't think about anything but chests. No more loot goblins who are so focused on chests that they don't remember to help out the guild. Relatable. So you can no longer just loot chests and buy stuff from the shop without helping your guild. Treasure chests now require keys to open them. And the only way to get keys is as a drop from doing normal monster fights or as a perk from leveling up your exploration level. So you'll need to be active, an active contributing member inside of Ancient Inheritance in order to get the keys, to get that personal loot so you can buy the stuff from the shop. And the shop stuff is very worth getting. Now, the loot on floor 1 is pretty mediocre. In fact, you may want to save most, if not all, of your keys for floors 2 and 3. Unless you get so lucky that you get like 30 keys in 30 fights, I think you save your keys. But even if you don't, rest assured, you will get plenty of keys and you'll get all the loot you need to buy out the entire shop as long as you are decently active. Finally, let's take another moment to go over some of the special objects inside of Ancient Inheritance. First, there are these things called barricades. They block paths just like monsters. You have to use provisions to break them, but unlike monsters, they give no experience. But they also don't take any units away. Remember, pro tip, they count as an object if you're using the snakehead relic, so sometimes there's a strategy where you can hit a barricade, then hit a monster, and then hit the barricade, and then hit the monster. Also, sometimes going through barricades can be more efficient than going through monsters. Say you're a cleanup crew person and you don't have the elements to fight a blocking monster, so you can go around and go through a barricade to get at the chests. Second, there are these backpacks that give exploration experience in-game. These are the things that give 50 XP to you, and it doubles to 100 if you're lucky with the exploration journal. These are unlimited use for your guild, but 1 use per person. So that means everybody in your guild can open these. They never run out, but everybody can only open them once. These are far more important on floor 1, where you're trying to get your exploration level up, but 50 XP won't feel like such a big deal like on floor number 3, for example. Third are these tombstones. These give substantially more experience than backpacks. Even though backpacks are like 50 XP on every floor, I think tombstones scale up on the higher floor. They're worth at least 100 on floor 1, and I think they're worth 2 and 400 on floors 2 and 3. And of course that can double with exploration journal, but tombstones have a limited number of use per guild. Once they're used too many times by your guildmates, they won't work for anyone else, so make sure before you walk halfway across the map for a tombstone that it's still active and hasn't had all of its uses expired. Tents likewise have a limited number of use. Statues have a limited number of use. Statues bring your units back to life after they've been killed, and tents give you provisions if you sleep in them, extra provisions. So those are kind of nice. 1 use per player and a limited number of use per guild. Once they are used, they're dead. And then there are these banners. These banners give a smoky buff to all monsters nearby, so keep an eye out for monsters that have swirling smoke around them. That is a sign that they are near the buff effect of a banner, and if you attack them, they will be significantly harder to fight than what their level advertises. It's basically a negative Tundra's blessing for your team if you fight one of these bannered monsters. Also, there's these lighthouses. Lighthouses, once you use them, they'll illuminate a large portion of the map, which is really nice for people that are using the telescope and Wanderer's Pipe Relic to move around. But other than that, mostly that's for people to be able to see areas of the map, and hey, we're making you these really, really nice maps, and that kind of reduces the importance of going for the lighthouses. And finally, the relic shrines. Relic shrines are where you can acquire random new relics to replace the unwanted ones. They will randomly spawn the relics, so there's no guarantee you'll get the one you want. Make sure you have a spot for a new relic, or that you're okay with trading out one of your old relics, because once you use a shrine, it's used. Okay, you can't unuse it. You can't just cancel out and go back later. Once you look at it, it shows you the relics, and if you take one, great, and if you don't take one, they all go away again. You can't come back later. So make sure you have room in your relic tree for a new relic, or make sure you have a relic you want to get rid of. My last little bit of advice is that you are permitted to withdraw up to 10 heroes per season. Not per day, not per week, per season. 10 heroes. So if you pick a hero for AI and it's just not living up to expectations, or say you picked a hero for farming normal monsters, but now you're max level and you're not farming normal monsters anymore, you can ditch that one and get one that's specific to high-end fights. Or say that you found out that your guild doesn't have people enough people on the fire elemental team, and you want to be that Chad that switches out to fire so you can withdraw all heroes of one element and start drafting fire. Awesome. But it's 10 per season. Remember that. After you swap out those 10 heroes, your roster is permanently locked for the rest of the season. No more changes. No more withdrawing. Also, no trying to cheat the system. If you withdraw a dead hero and re-enlist it, it will still be dead. If you withdraw a dead hero and re-enlist a different dupe, it'll still be dead. So, sorry, you can't cheat the system in that way. Alright, now that I've talked your ear off and turned what I intended to be a relatively short video into a really long video, I'm going to wrap things up for this introduction. I do plan to stream my AI pushes every single day on Twitch and YouTube, so make sure you ring that bell to be notified when I go live, and then you can come in and join. Be a part of the adventure. Ask questions. See how I'm moving around. See how I'm leveling. Guys, get organized. Make a Discord room. Turn it into a party. It's dangerous to go alone. The adventure is way more fun with friends. Have a good one, Epic 7.